In a separate crash over there in the southern part of the country, 2 U.S. choppers collided in midair, killing 4 more American soldiers. It's one of the deadliest days of the Afghan war for U.S. troops, and it comes as President Obama prepares to meet again with his national security team on the strategy going forward in Afghanistan. That's expected to happen today. Florida Senator George LeMieux has just returned from a visit in Afghanistan today. He met with top U.S. Commander in Afghanistan, General McChrystal, and President Hamid Karzai and his challenger, Dr. Abdullah Abdullah. Welcome, Senator. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to be with you, Harris.
Well, I know it supports our troops to have you in Afghanistan. You were part of a bipartisan trip, I understand, but what were you hoping to learn?
Well, it was a good trip. It was a trip that was sponsored by Richard Burr from North Carolina. Myself and Sheldon Whitehouse went on the trip, and I'm a new senator, as you know, Harris, from Florida, and I wanted to go firsthand and see the situation myself. I wanted to talk with General McChrystal, since he's not going to have a chance to come over here before the president makes his decision, and find out for myself what the best strategy going forward is for the United States so that we can have success in Afghanistan.
You know, I'm curious about the general's overall mood there. I mean, he has to be watching this play out. He's given his recommendations to the Pentagon, to the president. What kind of mood is General McChrystal in when it comes to the decision-making process right now?
Well, I think he's committed to the strategy that he's put in place and is asking for the president to support. They've already started this counterinsurgency strategy. The troops on the ground are already going into the areas and trying to not only defeat the Taliban and the bad guys, but hold those places so that the Afghan people can have the support of the Afghan police, of the Afghan army, and not have the Taliban just come back in when we leave and terrorize the folks again. So I think he is committed to the strategy, and what I heard from him and what I heard from the generals on the ground is that the troops they sent since March have helped, and they need more troops in order to achieve this new strategy.
Anything you see there, Senator, that you didn't anticipate, anything new?
Well, it was my first time there, and the thing that really struck me is what a difficult terrain this is in Afghanistan. When you fly in, it's like looking at a moonscape or the Mars. It is just a tremendously alien and foreign and difficult environment. These people are living on tops of mountains, 10, 15,000 feet in the air, and in little shacks with farms, and it's a very primitive environment. But our troops, could not have been more impressed with our young men and women who are in harm's way, fighting to make sure that these terrorists can't attack us again. And they're doing great work. And I think that if we follow through on this strategy of not just going out and killing the bad guys, which we've been doing for 8 years, because that alone is not enough, because the bad guys just keep replacing themselves, but holding and protecting these areas so that the Afghan police and the Afghan military can take root, protect these people, let order and government set in, and in that way I think we can keep the Al-Qaeda and Haqqani and the other terrorist organizations from coming back in the country.
Well, Senator, when you have a trip like this, what kind of feedback can you give the president? I know he's meeting with his national advisors on security today, but will you have a chance to brief him? Will it be in writing? Will it be in person? What happens?
I'm going to prepare a letter to the president. I'm certainly happy to talk to him at any time he would like to give him my experiences. I'm sure Senator Burr and Senator Whitehouse will do the same. And, I'm going to tell him that I was very convinced by what I heard from General McChrystal, that we don't need to just do the counterterrorism. We need to continue to do that, but also this counterinsurgency strategy so that we can let order in a system of government, whether it's national or tribal, take root so that we can have a better situation going forward in Afghanistan.
All right, before I let you go, I do want to talk about that upcoming election. Hamid Karzai and Dr. Abdullah Abdullah in a runoff on November 7th. You met with both of these men. What did they tell you?
Well, we talked to both President Karzai and Dr. Abdullah about the upcoming election, the need to make sure there wasn't a perception that was fraudulent, the need to have a legitimate head of the country. They both agreed to that. But frankly, Harris, I'm not sure what's going to happen going forward. There's all sorts of discussions about whether the two of them may cut some kind of deal. I'm not sure that Dr. Abdullah is going to run on November 7th. He did not commit to us that he was a candidate. I think he's got aspirations to maybe form a political party, but I think it's still too soon to know what's going to happen on November 7th. And I think why that's particularly important for the United States is that we can't wait until an election that may or may not happen in order to make this decision about whether to send more troops. I think the president needs to make his decision soon, and we can't hinge it upon what may or may not happen on November 7th in Afghanistan.
Very interesting. Some news made on that trip, it sounds like, between those two gentlemen, and potentially more to come. Florida Senator George LeMieux, just back from Afghanistan. Thank you for sharing your notes and thoughts on your recent trip.
My pleasure, Harris.
A strange twist in the war crimes trial of former Bosnian Serb leader Radovan Karadzic. An internet